This presentation will demonstrate how to document eye exams in MHS Genesis. Quick disclaimer, this product is not sanctioned by Cerner or MHS Genesis. This was developed independently to be an aid to new eye providers who are using Genesis, as I experienced many frustrations trying to learn it when I was first introduced to it. Please ensure your speakers are turned on as the video clips on the following slides are narrated. Prior to attempting to document an encounter, you will need to ensure you have configured your workflow to display the components you want, build your favorites, most importantly your CPT codes, and configured your auto text. This video will show how to log into PowerChart and get some basic settings configured. Once you are in the Citrix storefront, you may need to scroll down to find the PowerChart icon. Go ahead and click on it. If you're required to enter credentials, make sure you select your DoD certificate and not your email certificate. Once PowerChart has loaded, you will be presented with this window here if you are on the home window setting. Messages will be displayed here on the left side of the screen, but to be able to see your patients, you're going to first identify yourself as a resource. To do that, you would click in this field, type in the patient's name, or the provider's name. For me, I'm already in here. I'm just going to select that and then select it. I don't have any patients today, but if I did, they would be listed here on the left side. For patient safety purposes, I'm not going to show how that is viewed, but each patient there will be a little hash mark to the left here. It is typically gray. As the patient is checked in and goes through different components of the exam, that will change colors. So when you look at your schedule here, you will be able to tell when a patient is checked in by viewing the color of the hash mark to the left of their name. Once you are loaded as a resource, you're going to want to go in and configure your settings. I'm going to just pull up a test patient here. I have my test patient here, and what I'm going to do is show you how to configure your workflow. Your workflow is displayed here. This is how I have preferred to set mine up. You can customize yours how you deem most appropriate, although I would recommend this as a good starting point. When you first log in, you are likely going to have many more options displayed in your workflow. To simplify it, you will go over here to this little drop down, hover over components, and you can select and deselect the various options here. As you can see, there are very many options, most of which you will not need for doing routine eye exams. So as I mentioned, I would recommend only selecting the options here, and you can reorganize them by clicking and dragging, however you prefer, but this is a good workflow that I found that has worked well for me. This slide will show you how to build your favorites. To do so, you will go to your new order entry and select mine. You can create different folders to which you save your favorites. I'm going to show you under in-office favorites, I have my procedures. Now these have already been saved, but I will show you how to add items to this. To do so, you can just type in the CPT code. So in this case, I will type in 92014. It will automatically display. To add it to your favorites, you'll click the star to the right of it. Doing so will give you the option to add it to a favorites. You can select the subfolder. For me, it would be procedures, and then click add. Since I've already added this, I'm not going to do so. I'm just going to cancel this. You can do the same. I'm going to go back to my favorites here. You can do the same for different types of medications that you use. If you do save favorites for medications and you want to use them, you need to make sure that you are doing it under the ambulatory meds, not the in-office meds. So once again, make sure you save them under the ambulatory meds. Once again, you can also have different labs. If you routinely order labs that you can save as favorites. This will save you time down the road if you pre-build these favorites. A little more effort and time up front, but will pay big dividends long term for you. This video will show how to create and edit auto text, and also how to pull auto text from another provider profile. Any field that has this icon displayed in the menu permits the use of auto text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this icon, And what it will do is it will display all of the auto text that I have created under my profile. As you can see, I've got multiple pages of auto text here. But what I'll show you is if you want to create a new auto text or phrase, you click this blue cross, and then you want to give it an abbreviation that will be the short key or the hot phrase that will auto-populate your auto text. So I like to start all mine with a period. I'm just going to create a generic one, I exam, and then here I would type whatever it is that I want to display when I type in the abbreviation. I am not going to type in and waste time on what it is, but you can create whatever it is that you want it to display. I'm not going to save this as it's just for the sake of demonstrations. I'm discarding this. So once you created your smart phrase, it will be displayed here, and then you can always go back and edit it by clicking on it and going up here to edit. I'm going to use this contact lens auto text to demonstrate additional capabilities. This text that is in blue indicates that it is a drop-down menu. If you'd like to ever create a drop-down menu, the way you do so is you go to this icon, create drop list, and then add list item, and you just continue to add whatever items you want to display in the drop-down. I'm not going to waste time doing that here, but I will show you the options that I've already pre-populated for contact lens assessments. I've created the list showing the most common lenses that we see on a somewhat routine basis in our clinic, to include the brand name, base curve, diameter, and the weekly replacement cycle. Creating these drop-down lists in conjunction with auto text can be a powerful tool to save you time as you're doing exams. Now, if you do not want to create all of your own auto text, you can pull auto text from another provider's profile. I will show you how to do that next. To do so, you go up to View. You're going to come down to Manage Auto Text, and then you're going to type in last name, first name of the provider that you want to pull auto text from. Hopefully Captain Andre will forgive me for using him. So you're going to select the provider from the list, and then this displays all of the provider smart phrases or auto text. You can select individual auto text that you want to copy to your profile, or you can select all and click copy. I'm not going to do that, but once you do, the next step would trigger you to have to restart Genesis and log back in. But this is a quick way where you can pull auto text from another provider if you want to be able to use theirs and then modify them as appropriate for your own preferences. There are two main options for charting information into PowerChart. The first is to use auto text. Auto texts are great because you can fully customize them to meet your personal preferences to display what you want. Additionally, I find them to be more efficient as they require fewer clicks and less navigation throughout PowerChart to input the data. The other option is to use the ad hoc note. The ad hoc note has the benefit of allowing better chronological tracking of data points at the cost of having to take more time to input data into specific fields. As you become more proficient with Genesis, you'll be able to decide which option you prefer that best meets your needs. The following slides, I will walk you through how to use both options to enter encounters in PowerChart. This video will show how to use auto text to document an eye exam in the outpatient eye care workflow. Starting off, you'll want to input your chief complaint. Note that the chief complaint is limited to 255 characters. Anything beyond that will need to be entered under the subjective HPI section. Once you've inputted your chief complaint, hit sign, and then go to Review of Systems. It's best to use a auto text for this as well. This is what I have created as my auto text for Review of Systems. You would update any pertinent information as appropriate, and then click Save. Scrolling down to Objective and Physical Exam Findings, you can create whatever template you want using auto text. This is what I have created. Obviously, you can customize this per your preferences. I'm just going to quickly enter some information here so you can see how it displays in the final note. We'll say that their previous prescription is 3/4 of a diopter of myopia in each eye. Today's updated prescription will be a diopter in each eye for simplicity's sake. Down here, the text highlighted in blue It tells us that it is a drop-down option that I've created in my auto text. So these are pre-defined options that I've input into this drop-down. We'll say this patient is current on their dilation. Doing contact lens evaluations is difficult in Genesis, as there's no options to properly document that, so auto text will be your only way to really go about doing so. So this is my contact lens evaluation auto text. I've also created drop downs here to where I've input the parameters for the most commonly used lenses, which include their base curve and diameter. You could put whatever information you want to put in here. I'm going to leave this out for this patient for the sake of time. Once you're done entering all objective and physical exam findings, click Save. If you would like to print out a copy of the patient's prescription, under Optical Prescriptions, click on the chevron and select the appropriate thing. For this, it would be glasses. A new window will pop up and you will click the appropriate type of prescription you're issuing. For this patient, we're doing -1 in each eye. I like to annotate the patient's pupillary distance as well, so it will display on the prescription, and then click the green check mark. Once you have done so, go over here to the refresh icon and click it, and now the prescription is showing. I click on that, click print, a new window will display with the patient's prescription information. I then would hit print to send it to the Genesis mapped printer. If you prefer to handwrite your prescriptions, obviously you can disregard this step. For problem list, you want to enter any diagnoses appropriate for the patient. I'm going to select myopia of both eyes. This is a chronic issue. And for patient education, I'm going to select myopia. You can create your own patient educations. The database within Genesis is very limited, so you'll likely want to do so. I'm going to select myopia, and you'll see it is now displayed down here under added education. For new order entries, this is another thing you will want to have already built and saved your favorites. I'm going to click on mine and go to procedures and select ophthalmological comprehensive new patient. As I click this, you'll notice that up here next to the envelope it changes to 1. As I click additional CPT codes, they will just be reflected here in the green box. So I'm going to also code for determining refractive state and dispensing glasses. All 3 codes have now shown up here. I'm going to click the green box. They are correctly associated with this diagnosis, and I'll click sign. I'm going to input information under the assessment plan once again using auto text. Click save. Another thing you can do is build favorites within the follow-up periods at the intervals of your preference. I'm going to select 24 months. Once I have done so, I am ready to sign the note. To do so, I'm going to click on Eye Care Outpatient Note. It's pulling forward information that I entered into the note, and there will be many things that are going to display with nothing. These will all disappear in the final note so long as no information has been entered for them. Scrolling down, you can see the information that I entered using the auto text, and the final prescription is displayed up here. I will then click Sign Submit and sign. Once I have done so, to view my signed encounter, I will go to Documentation, and you can see here it is highlighted as it was just signed. I click on this, and I'm going to expand the window, the viewing window, and you can see the final report, and the data fields that had no information have disappeared. They are not included in the final note. So this has been a video showing how to input an eye exam using auto text in MHS Genesis. This video will show how to use the ad hoc section to document eye exams in Genesis. To start out, go ahead and enter your chief complaint. As you can see, the chief complaint field is limited to 255 characters. Information beyond that limit will need to be entered under the subjective HPI section. Once you've entered your chief complaint, click Sign. Review of systems is something that I would encourage you to develop an auto text to do. This is what I have built for my review of systems. You would update pertinent information as appropriate for the patient and then click Save. I'm going to skip the objective physical exam as we will be using the ad hoc section to do that. To access that, we will use the iCare visit, which can be accessed from several different tabs. I'm using the refraction for this one. I'm going to click iCare visit, and I'm going to drag this over to be able to better display the menu options. The chief complaint already would have been entered in, so what I'm going to do is go down here to the visual acuity and refraction tab. Visual acuities and entrance testing should have been entered by the corpsman in processing the patient during the intake. So what we want to focus on here is the refraction. I'm going to click Manifest. I already had this information entered in, but you would select from the drop downs whatever you found today with their manifest refraction. Next, moving on to pupils' motilities, I'm going to select all things as being normal and unremarkable. Moving on, if you were to dilate the patient, you could indicate so here in these tabs, annotating the time and medications that were used. If you did Goldman applanation tonometry, you could select that here and enter the information appropriately. Alright, next we'll move on to the slit lamp exam. We'll say everything externally with the eyes is normal and unremarkable, and for slit lamp we'll do the same. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the various structures that are pre-built into the slit lamp portion of the exam. I am going to take a moment and we will annotate an abnormal finding here so you can see how it displays in the final note. So we will do a 0.5 millimeter official peripheral. Alright, and continue on to scroll down so you can see the other options that are displayed for slit lamp. Next we'll move on to the fundus exam. Once again, selecting yes, everything is normal. You will want to make sure you, from the drop down, select the CD ratio for the patient. Once again, I'm going to scroll down so you can see the other structures that you can document with. And once we have done this, we're going to select the green check mark. And I will go down here to optical prescriptions. If you would like to print out a copy of the patient's prescription, you can do so by clicking the chevron here under optical prescriptions. I'm going to select glasses. It has the patient's refraction information here, and it pushes it into the prescription section here. I'm going to click the option for single vision distance. I like to also enter the patient's pupillary distance here so it will display on their final prescription. Once I've done so, I'm going to click the green check mark. I'm then going to click the refresh button for optical prescriptions. The prescription I entered will now display. I click on that and go to print. A new window will pop up. It will display the prescription that will be printed for the patient. Printing is done by clicking the icon here. You must make sure that you have mapped yourself to a Genesis printer to be able to print to it. I'm going to close out the prescription information there. Now we are ready to add our problems for the patient. For this patient, it is myopia of both eyes. This is a chronic problem for the patient. I'm going to scroll down. Genesis has limited options for patient education built into their database. I will go ahead and click myopia here. You can build your own and custom patient educations if you prefer to address many of the areas that are not currently filled with the database in Genesis. I'm going to click done now. Alright, next, new order entries. This is where you will order your medications and your CPT codes. Mine are built in my favorites here. I'm going to go to procedures, and for this patient we'll say they are a new patient. I click that, and up here next to this envelope, a 1 has appeared and turned green, indicating that that CPT code has been registered. If you pay attention to this green box, as I click my additional CPT codes, you will see that the number changes. Very good. I've added my CPT codes for this encounter. I'm now going to click on the green box with the number 3. For this patient, I only have myopia that they're being seen for, and it's associating my CPT codes with the correct diagnosis. I'm now going to hit sign. I'm going to delete these other diagnoses as they are not related to this encounter. I will also use auto text for my assessment plan and click save. You can create your own custom intervals that you would like patients to be able to follow up at. I'm going to select 24 months. Once I've done that, I am ready to sign the encounter. To do so, I will go to the eye care outpatient note, click it, and now I will review the information that is pulling forward from my exam. It displays in the APSO format. That is a default that Genesis has created. You can see the review of systems here, and now you can see refraction information, the pupils information. Some of these items are displayed twice. That is just because I've already inputted information to this patient before. Were this to be a new patient, you would not see redundant fields for those items. Scrolling down, and now you can see how it displays for your slit lamp and fundus findings. The prescription information displays here. I'm now going to click sign and submit, and then I will hit sign once again. To view the signed encounter, I'm going to go to the documentation tab here, and you can see in italics is my new note. If I click it, it will display. I'm going to expand the viewing window so we can see the entire note. And here, once again, the final report displays our findings from the exam. Like I mentioned, these duplications are just because I have done this multiple times for this patient. You would normally not have these duplicate findings. So you can see how the note is displaying, and that is how you document a note using the ad hoc portion in Genesis. This video will show you how to look up previous exams in Genesis. There are 2 ways that you can do this. If the patient has previously been seen in Genesis, then you can just go here to documentation. All exams that were completed using MHS Genesis will be found here. So you can look through, and they're going to go back in reverse order to display there. To view it, you just click on the note, and it will display it here on the side. So these are the different options that you have for looking at notes that have been documented using MHS Genesis. To retrieve exams that were completed using Alta, you are going to have to use the Joint Legacy Viewer. The patient I'm using is not a true patient, so they do not have any exams in Alta, but I will show you how you would access them just so you know for future basis. I'm going to click Launch JLV. This takes a moment to load. Once it has loaded, it will display in the window here. I'm going to maximize this screen. These are the appointments that will display in this column. What you're going to be looking for is the outpatient encounters. This patient does not have any encounters that were done in Alta since they're not a true patient, but if they had, they would be listed here. If you wanted to narrow things down, you can apply your filters, and I like to do OPT to search for optometry, and this should pull up all the previous eye exams. You can also customize the dates that are set as default for how far back they will search for exams. I have mine set for 10 years, but this does cause it to take longer to load. If you don't want to have such a long load time, you could change this to whatever you prefer, for the last 5 years or whatever it is that you prefer. Now you also can adjust the items that are displayed here. If by default you do not already see outpatient encounters, you can go up to the open widget tray, and it will tell you all the different things that you can have displayed here. So like I said, if you don't have the outpatient encounters, which is what you were most concerned with, you would look for it down here from this list, drag it, and pull it up to display wherever it is that you want it to be. So this is fully customizable. The more items that you have, the more widgets you have in this window, the longer it's going to take for JLV to load all that information. So I prefer to keep mine simplified to just the appointments and the outpatient encounters. I hope you have found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. Once again, this is not an official Cerner MHS Genesis sanctioned training. This is just something that I wanted to provide, as I know the struggles I had as an initial user of the eye care ambulatory workflow, trying to provide a resource to help you. So once again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email. Thank you.